being in a smaller surrounding, the teachers can really see each and every child and attend to them. It's a very tight community in that small school because, if one person is absent, then you can definitely notice that. So nobody goes, unnoticed in this environment.
I'm Glenn Herbert, and I'm an editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private schools to gain insights into their programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administrators. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
What did attract me to Prestige School is definitely the focus on both math and humanitarian languages, humanitarian subjects. I did want my daughter to have more one-on-one time with the teachers because when she started school, she was a year younger than everybody else. I did want her to have a very comfortable environment, that she would have that ability to, coming from a very home environment and very comfortable environment. I did not want her to get lost in the big classroom. So for me, something that's more intimate and with a fewer kids in a class was pretty much what I wanted for her. And the reviews were really good. I had a friend who was actually taking her child to a different campus because Prestige has 2 locations. But Richmond Hill was very convenient, and with us moving actually 3 minutes away specifically for that worked out better than it could. For a combination of classical educational system mixed with smaller classes, a very reasonable price a month and what was included in that price. Very individual approach to each kids, and very good recommendations that came from other parents. I think beginning was very, very easy because the first teacher that welcomed her was very bright and, very kind and very emotional. And for her, it was very easy because she was drawn to her personality. And then she adapted pretty fast to a new class setting. At the beginning, she didn't want to switch because she was in JK and SK in a different private school. And it was a little bit bigger class that she had, and this one was smaller. So as she went along, she went through a little bit of adjustment for sure. I think one thing that was harder for her at the beginning was math, because math in Prestige School, even grade 1, was a little bit on a higher level than the school she came from. And it took her some time to adjust, but once she adapted, it was a smooth sailing from there on. I know that she enjoys very much the Spirit Weeks that they have, which means that they do multicultural events, they do international cafe, they do different days when they dress up differently, and they do fun things. I think that's very important for a school to have that, besides just the educational, to have the, uniting events. This way they all interact together. It doesn't matter which grade, and it builds better relationships. It's International Cafe or Spirit Week. I see every time we start, preparing for these things in advance. The International Cafe involves some, research done on music and culture of the country that they choose, as well as food. Before COVID, they would bring some food that would be specific for certain country, and they would share this. So it was really, a fun thing to do for kids, and I'm very grateful for schools doing these events. Since COVID and the big adjustment for educational system, the fact that Prestige was able to adapt and switch to online, learning and have a full day of classes with very interactive classes, which is very important because kids sitting in front of the laptop, I get bored sitting in front of laptop all day. I cannot do it. But for them to come up, with the different tasks and different classes that would entertain kids and involve them in the learning process was, something I really admire, and I'm very, very grateful for Prestige. I think that because they started pretty much when I brought my daughter to school, and it was grade 1, and right now she's grade 6. So at the beginning, they did go through a learning curve of how to organize events better, because the main campus, which is in Toronto, they have a little bit more ability to be more organized. They have a bigger facility there. So for this campus, it took some time to adjust to, having kids more organized and more involved in things. But it's normal because, when you start up, there are a lot, like it's natural that there's going to be certain things that you need to go through a learning curve, which they did. I think right now they've improved it drastically with organizing events that were like field trips and everything else that, again, pre-COVID times. That was something I think they also went through some adjustment, but it's just a process. I don't think that there's something in particular that I would say I'm not pleased right now with the way my child is. It would be great if, it would be back again and we can still enjoy these field trips and everything. As I said, for me, it's a very big part of learning. I'm not only focused on academic results, but academic, goes without saying. They're on a very high standard for me. And just, it's not their fault that there's COVID and we cannot go back to, again, having the social events, but that's something that will come back eventually. Pleasant surprise was probably, I can split it to several things. The pleasant surprise was how they made my daughter feel like a part of a family, and they really work on that. So that means a lot because she's a year younger than her classmates, and she needed that, I guess, comforting feeling for her to open up and, switch to school and feel at home at the same time. Another part that was pleasantly surprising for me is how willing the school is communicating with the parents and listening very carefully to their comments. And if something is not satisfying, then that's being discussed. It's a very open communication with administrative part of the school and the teachers. In terms of that, I've seen quite a few improvements, and knowing that my child is in school, that teachers hear what the parents have to say in a very, very reasonable way, then it means a lot. It's a very, it's definitely a very socially oriented, on a high level academic combination, if that makes sense. Like it's a balance. And I think that that's what I also appreciate in this school. It's definitely promoting no bullying, no, discrimination in any way. There are kids from different multiple backgrounds and they all in the same classroom. Nobody feels off or nobody feels excluded, which is great. Being in a smaller surrounding, the teachers can really see each and every child and attend to them. It's a very tight community in that small school because, if one person is absent, then you can definitely notice that. So nobody goes, unnoticed in this environment. As I mentioned a couple times before, it's definitely a social oriented skill promoting school because that's part of the society and we need to teach kids that as well. extreme respect, and that's being taught. Teachers try to, again, like there are certain things that will definitely promote and I think in a classical way, maybe it's, becomes not so popular anymore, but having a uniform and having certain rules, they do set the kids for certain expectations and certain rule understanding, which I think, again, them completing the school and either going to university or college or working, that would help them in the long run. It's a combination. I definitely interact way closer to the kids who are closer to my child's age parents, and appreciating the cultural, historical, traditional education. Like, I don't know how many kids in this school are actually, second generation Canadians, but I think it's very important in Canada, and that's how, for me, Canada is different from United States. In States, you're American. In Canada, you're allowed to keep your cultural um, difference and cultural background. And that's how I think, for me, Canada is described. So having that background coming from different cultures and different, from different traditions, but still integrating in that and appreciating and respecting each other, I think that's probably one of the things that parents definitely have in prestige school. We do see each other at the events, or did see each other at the events when prestige school would have the year end or New Year's events, right? So we know each other by names, and we would recognize each other and greet each other. But I interact with a couple parents, and we have pretty good relationship that we interact beyond the school subject, right? So I think what unites prestige parents is appreciating for what prestige school provides, right? And really, parents for who it was not suitable took their kids to other schools, right? So you can see who really relates to that, who appreciates that, and who can really see their child benefiting from the school. Actually, yes, a couple things. One of them being public speaking. So the public speaking part came in, I believe, when my daughter was in grade 2 or 3. And it's different from the public speaking that's in other schools, because that's, I'd say it's done more on a volunteer type of basis, and it's held at the Legion. So the veterans are actually those who judge the kids on the presentation. But the fact that my daughter was able to understand what's involved being in front of, so many people, and being able to conduct herself and participate in other parts of that competition, which was writing an essay and making a presentation or a poster or a picture for that. So she's participated now. I think this was the 5th year, but being 5th year, they only had it in the classrooms, in the classroom environment. They could not take it, obviously, because there are no public gatherings. Last year was the last time actually we were able to do that. It was in February, before the closure that was announced in March. And I could see not only the fact that she was able to cope with the public speaking fear that's natural for a lot of people. She also was able to deal with the fact that if she did not win the prize, and not to look at it as a defeat, but to look at it as a process. And the first time, obviously, it was tears and a lot of disappointment, and, but why? But then the next year, she was able to pull herself together and actually get the 3rd prize. So seeing how kids actually perform, seeing her, relate to that, and having that experience, that was one of the things that I really, really was, grateful and impressed and very proud of my daughter to go through. From beginning, I approached administration of Prestige School, and I explained to them that my daughter has skipped a grade when she was JKSK, so she was 5 years old when she entered grade 1. So I wanted to see if that's something that can be, acceptable for this, if that's acceptable for the school, if that's something that they would be willing to accept, and that if that was their comfort zone. The reaction was very, very positive from the administration. They said, absolutely. I believe we had like a screening process for them to see if she was ready for grade 1 rather than looking at her age. And she passed the test, so that was not a problem. And from there on, it was from there on, it was a lot of communication, because we went through different phases when there were certain events being organized. And I think Prestige is very open to suggestions from the parents. And that is a great point, because I know expectations from different people will be different. My expectations, I just want to know that my child is safe, my child is attended, and if there are field trips and if there are some events that are carried, especially outside of the school territory, that's something that I can rely on school and teachers who are watching them, and that there's safety there for sure. So that's something that I think was one of the things we communicated a lot with administration, because there were different events carried throughout. In terms of the suggestions or concerns that were rising as the school process was going on, again, very, very open and very, very understanding. I definitely recommend to parents who would like to see their kids attended to, have academic success, and have social skills to go to prestige schools. Another reason why parents should enroll in prestige school, I find that creating the social skills for kids is extremely important. And what I've seen the school doing for kids and creating events, for me, is a very, very important part of education. Without that, I don't see my child being ready for the world when she completes the school. The third part is obviously education. And I actually was curious how to compare the educational level of children in prestige school with other schools. And I didn't know that if you take to any educational center, that is Kumon or any other extra curriculum classes that are widely provided in Canada, that you are allowed a free test. Once a year, you can test your child for free, either in English or math. And for me, I believe I did that when she was grade 3, and I took her to one of those educational centers, and she got tested in math. And being in grade 3, she actually her results were on par with grade 4. Probably really see the reaction of your child, how comfortable she feels, how responsive the teachers were bringing my child for the first time in the school, asking them what was their process of selecting who enters, if they take just everybody, or if they have certain selection process, as well as, and I believe I've done that, allowing my child to spend a day in the class that she's going to be in, because I needed to see if that's something that she can relate, how the kids would, interact with her, and how comfortable she will be in this environment. Because for me, it's not my education. I've done my school, I've done my university, so that's not something I'm choosing. So for me to see that, my daughter actually is comfortable in the surrounding was one of the things that really made my decision go a certain way towards prestige school.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.